All right, with the Bears, I was really a fan of what they did, especially early on. Now, you have to understand when the Bears made their selection, they were actually further down in the third round, and they jumped up 14 spots to select David Montgomery. And he's got great vision out of Iowa State. He's got good hands as well. He's a multi-talented running back out of the Big 12 conference. And with the Bears signing of Mike Davis, it's going to be a really nice complement trio of running backs, if you will, for the Bears. So I just overall like the David Montgomery spot. I thought getting him there in the third round was a home run hit for the Bears, and I think he adds quite a bit of versatility to an offense that's going to be about as unpredictable as last year's offense. So, we'll see what they have in store for him. I was also a big fan of the Riley Ridley pick. Again, it's another player from Georgia, just this time on the offensive side of the ball. And we all know how Ryan Pace loves Georgia players, especially defense. They took Roquan Smith last year, Leonard Floyd a couple years ago. They took Javon Wims, who was a wide receiver on Georgia last year in the 7th round, and they get Riley Ridley in round 4, Calvin Ridley's younger brother. Not explosive, but really good hands. Could be a second slot wide receiver if they go with like a full wide receiver set, because Anthony Miller's already locked in as the number 1 slot receiver for the Bears. So it'll be interesting to see how he's used. But again, the way the Bears' offense was last year, their leading receiver was Tariq Cohen. So again, unpredictability could be a benefit for the Bears. Now they're later round picks in 6 and 7. Sometimes you just try to hit a home run with those guys. Duke Shelley is more of a slot corner, 5'9" guy, and then your 2 7th-round picks. Depth, special teams, whatnot. Whatever they ask for you, you're going to do because you're just trying to make the team in round 7. But overall, I give the Bears a solid C+ for a grade for their draft. They only had 5 picks. They could have traded down to gather more picks. I thought that would have been a smart move, but the guys that they got, home run for me.
Well, and that was the thing is, if I'm in the Bears spot, that's probably the route that I would have gone. But, look, you can make a lot of headway in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. But if you're going to make a living drafting there, and that's going to be the bulk of your talent, you're not going to be a dynasty. You've got to hit on 1s and 2s, and then supplement those with 3rd-round talent. Now, obviously, the Bears didn't have a lot of that this year, so, it is what it is. But, I kind of said what I said about Chicago. I want to go to the Rams because this is the moment everyone's been waiting for. I will tell you right now that the only reason that I give the Rams the grade that I do is because of 3 of their 4 picks between rounds 3 and 5. And that's it. I mean, when I look up and down this roster, there's a lot of head scratching that I'm going to explain. So we talked about the Rams needing to get a safety if they were going to get Weddle in free agency to groom. Now, I've watched a lot of commentary by the NFL, and it's kind of like watching people talk about quantum physics in the 3rd grade. It's like listening to my son tell me how many miles per hour he can run, and he's so far off an actual number. Like, he thinks he can run 21 miles an hour. And I'm like, no, you can't. But you can't argue with him, right? He's a kid. He doesn't know any different. That's what it's like listening to these experts, and I use that term very loosely, in the NFL, because they don't know what they're talking about. So there's a lot of high praise on Taylor Rapp. I've been hearing a lot of people in the Ramley like, oh, I'm so glad we got Taylor Rapp. Really? Tell me what your favorite Taylor Rapp moment was when he was at Washington. That's what I thought. there's not a lot of people that actually watched Taylor Rapp play in college. And if you did, here's what you saw in week 1 of the regular season. In week 1 of last year, they were up 16-14 over Auburn with about 2 minutes and 3 seconds to play. Auburn proceeded to gain all of their yardage through the air, splitting secondary player after secondary player for big gain after big gain, and the touchdown came on Taylor Rapp's side of the field. And they lost. Now, there's NFL talent down in Auburn, and Taylor Rapp couldn't rise to the occasion against the worst SEC offense last year. Then you go down the list. North Dakota. Well, I hope you beat North Dakota. You're supposedly a top 25 football team. Utah, they held to 7 points. And Utah, by the way, last year won the weakest side of a conference probably ever. I think they were like 6-6 when they won it. Arizona State we talked about this earlier, right? Taylor Rapp in that secondary got shredded by the Arizona State Sun Devils. Even though they won the game, Harry had a huge game. And then you look and you're like, okay, BYU wasn't very good last year. UCLA put up 24. Oregon, and that loaded offensive, talent crew with all of those wide receivers going pro, put up 30 on Washington. Colorado didn't do much, and then they had a stretch where they did really well. Colorado, California, Stanford put up 23, but Stanford was a good team, so I consider that a good defensive day. But then the Oregon State Beavers came to town and put up 23. Oregon. Let me tell you how well Oregon did last year. The Oregon State Beavers last season, they were 2-10. They put up 31 points against Ohio State and gave up 77. Other than that, in conference, they scored 20 points or more 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And one of those was against Washington. On the road, they put up 20 points. Get ready. On the road, they put up 20 points or more. In conference, 3 times. Against Colorado, who was a national powerhouse. Arizona State, who, we know their defense was outstanding. And Washington, who I'm told is the greatest defense the Pac-12 has ever seen. So you're sitting there at 2. You have offensive line issues. We have 7 men on the roster. At the time, we had 5 offensive linemen on the roster. How many play every down, Eric? How many offensive linemen do you legally need to have to play in the NFL?
Like on your team throughout the course of the season?
No, just on the field, anytime your offense is on the field.
Oh, 5 at least.
Right. 5 at least. That means 0 in the backup category. Because the Rams did such a good job of addressing that in free agency. And then they go into the draft. They trade out of round 1 when they could have gotten the kid from Oklahoma. Or they could have gotten the kid from Alabama. They could have gotten the center from Alabama. They could have gotten the guard from Oklahoma. But no, they get Taylor Rapp. Not in the first round. He wasn't good enough to take at 29 because they knew he was. This is my point. They knew how bad Taylor Rapp was. They knew they could get Taylor in the second round, essentially early third round. Not because Taylor Rapp's a bad player. This draft was deep. I get it. But it's your first pick. You've got glaring weaknesses in 2 key areas on your football team. Offensive line and safety. Offensive line more pressing because if anybody goes down with an injury, you're either going to have to move a defensive lineman into the position or forfeit the contest. So I would think it was pretty pressing. Nah, Rams are fine. We're going to go with Taylor Rapp. The worst of the safeties on the board. They could have gotten corner. That wouldn't have hurt them. And if you don't believe me that the Rams don't believe in Taylor Rapp, wait till we get later in the draft. Then that brings me to Darrell Henderson from Memphis. Okay? Darrell Henderson from Memphis. So I'm hearing a lot of things about Darrell Henderson. You made a comment earlier. I'll let you talk on that. Darrell Henderson from Memphis is okay. I certainly don't think he was worthy of your second pick in the draft, 6th in the 3rd round, when you had Rodney Anderson from Oklahoma staring at you right in the face. He's a less talented Malcolm Brown. You're going to hang your hat on that? Not to mention, you have Kelly, or Joe Kelly. You have Justin Davis. You have talent at running back already. Why? Why are we... So again, we ignore the offensive line. Now, the Rams get bailed out here. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay? They really punted the football with their first 2 picks. I don't know if the guy they had targeted was taken just before them and they scrambled. And I really think that's what happened in the first round. I think the reason the Rams traded out is because they went in with one guy on their mind, and when he was drafted, they bolted. But the problem is they had overnight to put together a laundry list of players that they could have chosen with the 29th pick in the 2nd round and the 6th pick in the 3rd round. What do? They just panic and draft whatever they can. Because, you could talk up Darrell Henderson till you're blue in the face. Justin Davis is more talented. If he cuts the fumbles out, he is way better than Darrell Henderson. And certainly, Rodney Anderson's career is going to do this, while Darrell Henderson's career is going to do this. I know what you Ram fans are saying, well, yeah, because we have Todd Gurley. Okay, well, they have Joe Mixon. Anyway, where do the Rams get bailed out? At the 16th pick in the 3rd round, they get David Long from Michigan. And I really like him. He's got really good hands. He's good at not just catching the football, he's a sure tackler. And considering that he's got time to learn behind Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters and Nickel Roby-Coleman, I think he's going to be the guy to replace Nickel Roby-Coleman when his contract runs out.
I think it's going to be Aqib Talib, but after he's a free agent after the next season.
Yeah, I think depending on how he does this year, though, Eric, I think the Rams may sign him.
It's always a possibility. Yeah, right. He has a great year, might as well.
Yeah. So, but Marcus Peters.
You also have to look at his age too.
You do, and I think that's why I'm looking at this going, because he's a lot like Aqib Talib. He's lanky. He's got really quick hands, and he can catch the football, and he's fast. So if he gets it, he can take it to the house. When I found out that the Rams drafted David Long, I did a little jig in my head and went, okay, well, at least we've shored up the secondary, because now I no longer have to see Ty Hill on the field unless there's an injury. Thank the maker. But then the Rams doubled down, and with the 34th pick in the 3rd round, they turned around and they got Bobby Evans from Oklahoma, the tackle. Now, this is a guy that has time to learn. He's good. He's talented. He's a mauler, okay? But his weakness is pass protection. So he's got time to learn behind big Andrew Whitworth, right? And he's versatile. He can play both tackles positions, which you want from a tackle. And trust me, it's hard to play both. So for me, that was like, okay, we finally addressed the offensive line. Missed a lot of guys that were better, but at least we got ourselves a good one. And again, the Rams have been living in that 3rd and 4th, 5th round under this McVay and what's his name, the GM. Why am I spacing his name?
Snead?
Yeah, and this McVay-Snead era, they've really been, just knocking it out of the park in those mid-rounds. So then, with their first pick in the 4th round, they go get Greg Gaines. Now, let me tell you about Greg Gaines in case you're wondering. So, Ramley, you can pretend like you like this pick, and I'm going to laugh at you. I'm going to laugh in your face. Greg Gaines has no ability to rush the passer, And he makes up for it by not being able to stop the run against substandard, well, I should say against above average to good offensive linemen. And Greg Gaines made a lot of gains, pun intended, on the defense side of the ball when he wasn't double teamed. When he wasn't double teamed, he beat teams pretty good and he got some pressure and made some plays in the backfield. He has a highlight film, and I'm sure it looks impressive. But then you look at who he tore it up against. He tore it up against Oklahoma State, Cal Berkeley. He tore it up against Utah. None of those teams had a guard or center go in the NFL draft this year. None that I'm aware of, at least. And if they did, it was in the 7th round. So you spent 4th round capital on the deepest defensive draft in modern history on a guy that has done nothing on film to make you go, yeah, worth a 4th round pick when you had 3rd round talent out there. Blows my mind.
Yeah, he's a first and second round or first and second down player. He doesn't play much on 3rd downs.
Okay, so that's a problem because you have who plays on 1st and 2nd down a lot for the Rams? Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers. So now you got to bring a guy in who doesn't play 3rd down on 3rd down for probably Brockers. It was a stupid pick. Again, another guy from Washington. Which, oh, by the way, that week 1 game against Auburn, when they went up the field, no pressures, 0 on the quarterback on that drive. He could have sat there, baked some cookies, burped a baby, produced milk from his man boob and actually fed it the milk, and then threw the touchdown pass, which that's a feat if you're wondering, because it can't physically be done unless you're one of these gender fluid people that say biology is a lie and only you know the truth. Okay? The point is he had all day and then some to throw. The whole drive. So the Rams go ahead and get Greg Gaines. Good job. Really like that pick. That's sarcasm soaked in it. But then the Rams got, in my opinion, the steal of the draft. Now, you talked about Alabama linemen being like Nebraska linemen. Back in the day, here were your schools that used to produce linemen. Iowa, Nebraska, and Notre Dame. Nowadays, it's Wisconsin, Alabama, and I would argue Georgia. Okay? And you could throw, Alabama, Wisconsin, and you could throw in, I said it, Georgia. Wisconsin linemen are man-child. And David Edwards, in my opinion, you guys don't be surprised if David Edwards ends up being the starting right tackle over Havenstein by the start of week 1. I think he's that good. He's an upgrade from Havenstein. Now, he's a rookie, so he's going to get his lunch handed to him, but it's going to be far and away better over the long run for the LA Rams having this guy at right tackle rather than having Havenstein. So I really like that pick. Now, I told you I was going to come back to this. You don't believe me when I rag on Taylor Rapp and say how bad of a football player he is? Here's my favorite, really quick. Taylor Rapp, I'm reading from Washington's new magazine, right? I got the magazine for the new college football season, and they have Taylor Rapp, free safety. 3 spectacular seasons from this secondary sensation rightfully provided him with early entry into the NFL draft. No mention of his stats. And early entry, he was picked basically in the 3rd round. And here's proof that the Rams don't believe that Taylor Rapp is the answer at safety. They went and got Nicholas Scott from Penn State, who is really good. He's a sticky safety, is what I like to call him. If he's in cover 2, he's going to be at or around the receiver, making the throw uncomfortable for the quarterback. You may get behind him, you may beat him, but if you catch it, he's on you. Okay? He's a sticky safety. And then they turn around, they got Dakota Allen, the linebacker from Texas Tech, who's undersized, and the only logical position he can play in the NFL is, you guessed it, safety. So you got the coverage end of the side of things from Nicholas Scott, and you've got the tackling side of things from Dakota Allen. All of those things prove to me that the Rams looked at Taylor Rapp and went, I just go with it. I don't know what to tell you. They could talk up Taylor Rapp till they're blue in the face, but maybe he'll be good. But when I see on film, what I saw with my own eyes being a Pac-12 guy, I wouldn't have touched Washington defenders with a 20-foot pole. Now you want to talk offense, we'll talk offense. We'll talk offense all day long. So because of this, and because of the mid-round, I give the Rams a D plus C minus in the draft. Only because of those 3 picks sandwiched in the middle there, do I look at the Rams draft and go, it was saved. David Long and David Edwards may be the only 2 that survived this draft class that will stay with the Rams for a long time. I think Bobby Evans obviously could be another, depending on how his growth looks. But that's also going to depend on Noteboom at guard, and if the Rams go for a guard next year in free agency or in the draft and move Noteboom over, in which case Bobby Evans may be a career backup. But he's capable of learning under a great left tackle and doing well. But I look at the Rams draft and I just throw my hands up and I'm like, this is the same team, by the way, that gave up, 28 points, which against Ohio State. But the Buckeyes were a one-trick pony, and they couldn't stop the pass. So, and again, if you're a free safety or a strong safety, and you're supposedly our first pick in the draft, I would like to think that your defense at least had moments against top-flight opponents where you looked phenomenal. And the only game I look at on their schedule that I go, yeah, they look good, was against Stanford. Everybody else, that was their weakness. So, anyway, that's my decision. Like it or hate it. I told you I was going to be brutally honest with the Rams this year. C minus, D plus, more like a D plus. Eric, take it away.
Yeah, with the Rams draft, as you mentioned, the head scratchers, I think the only saving grace for them is their 2 offensive linemen that they selected. I told you that if they selected a safety in the draft after they signed Weddle, that that would probably be your safety of the future, and that's what they did. Like they could have, I think they should have taken a run at Tyrann Mathieu in free agency instead of just settling right away for Weddle. But maybe they saw something in Weddle that none of the other 31 teams saw. I don't know. But Darrell Henderson, a lot of people are like, oh, what's going to go on with Todd Gurley, and Darrell Henderson's here to take over his job. No, he's not. He's there to provide depth. Gurley's going to still be a workhorse. So, again, the only saving grace with the Rams draft, and, I give it a C, C minus somewhere on there, is the offensive lineman that you guys selected. So, if those 2 offensive linemen work out, then consider maybe in 3 years upping the grade to a C plus B minus.
Okay. Well, I like David Long too, like I said. So.
Well, yeah, he's a good difference maker and playmaker on the Michigan defense, and Michigan they do play some tough teams. Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Sisters of the Poor. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Michigan does play some tough opponents, and but Michigan's defense was also exposed against a good Ohio State team too. So, take it for what it's worth. That you're gonna talk about Taylor Rapp and Greg Gaines. Well, Michigan cornerbacks had a tough time against some of the better competition, but they held their own, except for Ohio State. So, you give a little, you take a little. You try to maximize the best that you can for this kid and put him in the best situations. That's all you can ask for.
Well, I agree, but at least with David Long, he was a 3rd-round pick. And he was a late 3rd-round pick. So I'm okay with getting a guy. I mean, you look at Michigan, they gave up 20 points or more 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So the same amount of times as Washington. There's obviously a 60-burger they gave up against Ohio State and 41 against Florida. So I'm okay with David Long in the 3rd round. I would have been pissed off if they went with David Long in the 1st round or the 2nd round, but taking him in the 3rd and having him learn under other people, totally fine with that. The problem with Taylor Rapp is he has got to be able to take the field quickly, because I would argue that Aqib Talib has more tread on his tires than Weddle does. So you have more time. But
yeah, Weddle's like 34, so
right.
His time is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, sorry, Ramley. Wait till you hear my predictions for the regular season this year. You're gonna probably also be very upset. But putting all that aside, Eric, I want to end on a positive note. We're gonna do a moment of silence at the end of the show. No go Rams, horns up, bear down, go bear, none of that stuff. We're just gonna do a 1-minute moment of silence for the late great Bart Star. There are very few people that had the class Bart Star did, and for me, when I think Super Bowl, I think Bart Starr throwing a Max McGee in Super Bowl I, and I think of Bart Starr's pass to Doyle in Super Bowl II. I picture him in that white jersey under center with the face mask, against the Raiders in Super Bowl II, or talking to Vince Lombardi prior to the quarterback sneak in the Ice Bowl against Dallas. Those memories are as vital to the National Football League's timeline and history than anything else. So for me, the NFL family lost an important member and an important figure to our game. So, yeah, on the passing of Bart Starr, I'm truly sorry for the family and for the Packer fans. We all are Packer fans for a day, and we will miss him greatly. Eric, you have a fun little, story to tell. Go ahead and share it.
Well, the whole being Packer fans for a day, I don't think so. It's like when Joe Montana dies. You're going to be a 49er fan for a day?
Maybe.
I'm going to say no, probably.
We'll talk about that later.
But yeah, I just want to add that I was on a work trip, and I had a chance to go up to Green Bay, and I took a tour of Lambeau Field. Felt kind of dirty. Sent a text message to Anthony and said I feel dirty for going here. And he's like, it's history, bro. And I know that. I've been to a lot of good historical stadiums for major sports, so I feel blessed and lucky at the same time. But I took a tour of the stadium, and I was up in the alumni suite, sitting in one of those chairs, really nice and comfy, right in the corner of the end zone. Went down onto the field, took some pictures from the field, and I stood about 25 yards away from where Bart Star dove into the end zone in the Ice Bowl. And I'm just kind of thinking back and seeing that play so many times in my head, saying, I'm standing right here. Like that's pretty cool. It's like the first time I saw Yankee Stadium from across the river, I was like, oh man, the house that Ruth built. Like shivers go down your spine. Like it doesn't matter if you're a fan of the team or not. It's just the history that you just feel and see when you go there and know that what's all taking place. And so just going there and seeing like the Packer stadiums throughout history, and seeing that they started at City Stadium, and just seeing like the way the stadium changed from when they started back in the 20s through to Lambeau Field now, seeing them play in Milwaukee County Stadium when they did up through the '94 season, and so just historical. And on the fifth level of the suites, pretty much the first place we went into, there were pictures of original pictures painted of Packers players, and the only one that I took of was of Bart Star. And Anthony, I sent it to you, so I mean, if you ever want to put that up on the site for maybe even this one, that'd be cool too. But I took a picture of it, and I was like, Star is the Green Bay Packers. When you think about players, like, no matter how old you are, you're like, okay, well, who was a prominent Packer player? Well, for me, it was Favre, but when you hear about Packer past, you hear about Star pretty much first. Star and Lombardi in the same sentence, and so it was just a really cool historical venue to be at. And at the end of the tour, they're like, okay, well, you guys can all say, like, we're all going to yell out, go Pack, go. And I unzipped my Cubs jacket because it was a little chilly up in Green Bay. And I was like, I opened it up like Superman opens up his, vest on his chest. And I'm like, here's my Bears shirt, boys. I ain't saying that. Like, I can't. Like, I will burn in hell if I say that. And they're like, okay, well, you can say it backwards. And I'm like, okay, go Pack, go backwards, go Pack, go. I'm like, give me a break. And so the other couple of people that I were with, they did it. I was like, no, I can't do it. Can't do it. I can't go against the Bears and bear down song and all that stuff. For my team, I'm like, I can enjoy a tour. I can, go see a little bit of history, but can't partake in your little tradition that you like and whatnot. But they got a beautiful facility after they renovated it, and their renovation was a few years after the Bears renovated Soldier Field, and I'm sorry to say, but they put the Bears renovation to shame. I mean, they put a lot of heart and soul into the renovation at Green Bay, and it's just a beautiful facility, and I would love to see a game there. We'll see if that ever happens, but it was just a great moment. Again, about 25 yards away from where we started over into the end zone, and if you guys ever get a chance to go on a tour of a stadium, do it. I assure you, you'll enjoy it. That was the first stadium tour I've ever taken, and unfortunately, it had to be in Green Bay. And Wrigley Field is 45 minutes from where I live, so it's like, how does that work? Well, it just happened like that, I guess. And so, like, you get a chance to go see the Rams facility after it's built, and they have a tour. Take it. Yeah. You will not be disappointed.
Definitely not. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and do the moment of silence here in a moment for Bart Star. So I'll do a quick little prayer. But Packer fans, again, we are sorry for your loss. He was a great man. Here we go.